Hi, I'm going to discuss a process to generate Zonohedra depending on how many directions one can use. Um, you have your 3 directions for a cube, your 4 for a rhombic dodecahedron, your 6 for the rhombic tricontahedron, and you also have a 10 for the enanacantahedra, and all of these can be broken into cells. But I'm going to show this how it relates also to the Pascal's triangle, which I find it rather interesting. So first thing we got here is a point, let's call it, and we'll call it 1 because that's the first of the process. Then we stick one direction out, and we had 3 options. We could have gone this way or this way. But now, opposite of that would have been what we would call the same direction. So really we'd have the XYZ axis. But we've chosen one direction for starters. Okay, then we have 3 more options still. So then we're going to go another direction, and then we have to parallel it. So then now we have our square. Then lastly, we take the third option, we parallel it. Oops. I know this sounds really basic right now, but it will make more sense, I guess. This is how I think of it. So now we have a cube. Now we're going to go over to Pascal's triangle here. I know it's on here somewhere. Okay. I guess I don't. Okay, there. And so really where we started here, let's call this top one here, we'll call it 0. We'll call this row 1, row 2, and row 3 for 3 directions. And I said at this point we had 1 point or a hub. Then we had 3 options, and that made our first line. Then we had our second options, which made the square. And lastly, we had the cube, and there's only 1 cube. So really, though, we had 3 options, but there's only one, no matter what we did, there was only one way it would be. So we could actually say for row 3, we could say 1, 1, 1, 1. This will become more apparent as I move on. Let's get out of there. And let's get to the row 4, which also makes a rhombic dodecahedron. So first we have a hub, or a 1. Then we stick our first, and since no matter what, it's always going to be 1 possibility, since they're always going to stick out of a singular strut. Okay, then we have our next option, and then we parallel it, and then we have our next option, and we parallel that. And now we've formed a hexahedron, but we haven't used up all of our directions yet. And we pick another direction, and then we're going to parallel it. Now, we connect those all up, because and so what we get, just want to do it right. I don't think I am. Alright, I just can't see sometimes the obvious. Alright. Well, anyway, what we have here is a rhombic dodecahedron, and it's made of 4 identical cells, which are rhombic hexahedra. And we will see later, possibly, that this is also Steve Bayer, a zonohedralist pioneer, that this is his B cell of the 5 cells that are used to compose the enanacantahedra, which also use these yellow lines, but there's 10 options. In this case, there was only 4. So we'll go look at Pascal's triangle again here, and we were on row 4 right here. So we had our point, and we went one of 4 directions, and then that ultimately would have gave us our first hexahedron here, and then this would have given us our I say that wrong. This is the point, this is the first edge, this is the rhombus, this is the hexahedron, this is the completed rhombic dodecahedron with 4 of those cells. Okay, now I'm going to have to do, I think I'll shift over now. We'll go to, I don't know of anything that works for row 5. I don't know of a form with 5 directions only. It's not optional on this anyway, on this program. But now we're going to use, there's these 12 spots of pentagonal openings on the Zone Tool Hub, and since they're opposite of each other, there's only 6 unique directions. So first we had our one hub, then we had our first direction, then we make our second direction and parallel it, and we form the rhombus. Now, unlike the prior, more simpler zonohedra, here we actually have the potential to make 2 different rhombohedral, hexagonal rhombohedra. And if we go this direction, we get the oblate, or the thin, because it has less volume, golden hexahedron right here. Okay, now we could have gone the other direction. We had an option that we could also make the acute or fat. Oops, I did it wrong. I thought I was on the right spot. That should work there. Still, okay, so, you know, the center changes, that's why I'm kind of off. The things rotate off center, but that's okay for now. So that's your fat rhombohedron. Now what's interesting is if you start from that center hub and you start doing this with these 6 directions, it doesn't matter how you do it, you're going to end up with a rhombic tricontahedron. And now I'm going to have to project all these edges out, and it's always the same so-called solution, let's say, of the 10 fat and 10 thin rhombic hexahedra to make the rhombic tricontahedron, which is kind of interesting to me. I find that kind of fascinating. So you also go through the series of polyhedra where we just had the hexahedron, and now we're moving on to what we call the rhombic dodecahedron, but it's not a regular rhombic dodecahedron, so we could also just call it a, oh boy, I screwed up. I'm just going to hide that line for now. I don't want to mess with that. So this is a neat form. I really like this one. This is a golden rhombic dodecahedron. It's made up of 2 fat and 2 thin of those hexahedra. So we choose, that's been 4 directions. The 5th direction will make a rhombic icosahedron, and this counts for any zonohedra as you build them in this parallel projection process. It goes through these series of various polyhedra, and then it culminates when it uses up all of its directions and ends up being a okay, well, I can't really get into that right now, but it's kind of interesting. There's like a crescendo, decrescendo along the Pascal triangles numbers, in that they what am I trying to say? There's various options of what you can get. There's only 2 options in this case with the 6 directions of the oh, I think I missed something there, didn't I? Well, that's not supposed to be there because it's crossing through. I might have put that wrong. Let's just look at it real closely here to make sure that we got this form right, though. Okay, I see a thin, I see a fat, I see a thin, I see a fat. I know it's not romper room, is it? Okay, so that looks pretty good. And this one is made up of 5 fat and 5 thin. So now we have one last direction to go. See, sometimes it doesn't want to give me the edge. It doesn't want to do it right. It wants to lift the whole thing up. I know this video is getting really long. We'll stop it at here, and then we'll go on to the ending contahedron next. Let me pause it. And yeah, I know it's hard to see, but there is a rhombic tricontahedron here, and it's actually a more involved construction to make it more obvious what's going on, where I'd have to shade some planes, and I should have, but I just want to quick jump this out there. Okay, thanks.